Good morning, everyone. This is Friday. It's a talk show time again with Uncle Ba-Thong. But today, Uncle Ba-Thong bring two new friends. Wing Chua from his new office, and then Ian Tech from Tampines office. So you can see he's sitting in the middle of the office. Okay, today we're talking about something really serious. I mean, really serious. We're talking about cloud security. The reason that we are talking cloud security because I hear from many partners like yours, many customers who was not confident when they go to the cloud, or they want to go to the cloud, but they don't feel confident about the cloud. Because they're afraid of hackers, they're afraid of losing data, got data stolen by whoever, or they're afraid that we in DS, we try to spy on them and look at what kind of data they create, whether, these kind of things that people can have in their mind. So that's why we talk about cloud security. But another reason that I like to talk about cloud security, because not long ago, we have a customer and the manager talked to us, and the manager told us they want a system where they can use to collaborate. Collaborate means where their team members can send drawing, parts, and then exchange with each other and look at what others do, or anything information relate to their products that they going to design and put on the market. The message from that manager, when he told us, he said, many of the senior engineers, when they leave the company, they back up their Outlook system from their laptop. They back up their Outlook, and they bring the entire backup of the Outlook away when they leave the company. Within the Outlook, there's information about the product, there's a part, every detail is on the Outlook. Sometimes, they exchange files with people, they just send an email, they attach the part to this, and they send to supplier, or something, they attach the part, the drawing to this. And yeah, when someone back up the Outlook and take it away, all the IPs are gone. So that manager say, give us a system where people can message each other, sending files, document, but will stay in the cloud, that people cannot take it out. So that's one reason we do the talk show today. So we start the talk show with question and answer. And if you have your own question, you can type your question in the chat box, and then we will try to answer at the end. But let's start with the question that we have internally. So Wayne, last time you talked with our partners in Vietnam, they have some concern about the cloud, right?
Hi, Ba-Thong. Yes, that's correct. Pardon me, I don't have a lot of voice today. I will try my best. So yes, the last time when I was in Vietnam, spoke with our partners, and there are some concerns about cloud security. So the first question is, 3D Experience is on public cloud for us, right? Does it mean that anyone can access, like a public car park? Can you share with us?
Okay, right. Okay. There's many things in the cloud, number one. Number two, each customer has their own tenant. So the first time that the customer buy the license from us, we send an invitation, and the person who received that invitation and opened the tenant, they become the platform manager. And only that moment, the platform manager can invite members. So not Dassault system. The customer own that tenant, and the customer invite their own staff to that tenant. So it's not a public car park that anyone can go. That's for sure. But in the other hand, we have also some what I call it community that are public, like the Southwest community on the 2D experience that replaced the traditional that many used to know, the Southwest Forum, for example. And then we have those like play to the experience, go to the experience. Then that also open to public where anyone can have a login to the what we call the 3DS passport. They can go to that community.
Ryan,
We also have those if we look at also public, but also by invitation. So you need to be invited to go to a tenant where you have all your own data. Vitek, do you have any question?
Yeah, you see, we have this public cloud. Then just now you mentioned that we do have some, for example, just now you mentioned about the if we look in the public, in a way, public cloud also. And we know the hacker actually, they are very good. You know, they usually hack via the internet access because our public cloud is actually internet access, which means that we are open door for someone to steal my login and my password, right?
Okay, this is a possibility, but for your information, right, the data that go, or what we call the information that go from our laptop to the data center, which is the tenant, those data are encrypted. So the information that travel on the internet between us and the tenant are all encrypted. Passwords are also encrypted, 256-bit encryption. And now, you want to go to something more secure, you don't want, for example, your password gets stolen or something. What we can do is what customer can do is we put in place the two-factor identification. So you can use another third party like a Google Door to have the second factor authentication. So you need to have not only a password, but you have to go through another level to make sure that you are the real user. So what in the industry they call the two-factor authentication. The next level, it's for those who use the private cloud, is that we can implement what they call the single sign-on. That means you have the same login as your own company, the customer his own system, to log into the system, and we can implement the single sign-on for the private cloud. There's a plan to have the single sign-on on the public cloud as well. We're working on this. We'll let you know when it's ready. But for sure, we put all this in place to make sure that cloud is secure.
All right.
Any
So
question,
I have
more questions?
yeah. I have actually I have two questions. They are interrelated in terms of the who actually in DS review the security. I don't know whether should I say DS or external because I'm not sure. So actually it's something to do with who actually review the security procedure and operation activity of our data center. And then our staff can access to this data center and perform the maintenance operation.
Okay, right. Okay. So we have what we call the security committee industrial system. So in that committee, it's not one person. We have 3 persons. We call CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. So that 3 persons overlook, implement all the security procedure within the company, including the data center where we have all the customer tenant, but also our own tenant. They define the procedure. They define who can access to what, who can go do maintenance. So it's all of those are defined by that committee. Now, you want to know whether how do our staff access to the data center and perform the maintenance operation. Usually, our staff will not go to the data center physically. They will not go to that data center. They all work remotely to those data centers. In any case, if they want to go to the data center for any reason, they want to go there, they need to have, we also call two-factor identification. So they will have the security cards, which is defined from the CISO, who can go to data center. So they need to have that. And then they have another level of security in order to identify who they are. And the access to the data center is monitored 24 hours. So they will face the camera and the camera will know who entered. We keep the backup of that backup of the camera, who entered the data center. We keep that backup for 90 days. And we audit regularly who entered the data center, who authorized the person to go there, and which kind of identification that personnel used to go to the data center. So that's how secure is it. And number two is that we work remotely to access to the data center. But you may think that if our guy work remotely means the hacker can also remotely access to data center, right? No,
yeah,
it's not the case. Actually, we this is very go deep into cloud technology. In order to remotely access to data center, we use a server that built specifically, most of the data center will do this way. There's a server built specifically, very secure, that allow people to go in to those data center. They call the Bastion server. So the Bastion server is like, very secure. It's built on dedicated operating system. I think it's that kind of like a special version of Linux, very secure. So to protect all the the hackers, so they have to go through that server before they can access to the data center. Okay, so they cannot access remotely directly to the data center itself. So they have to go to that one, and then from that one they will access to data center. All right.
But I have a question. Does that mean that DS has access to customers' tenant?
No, DS doesn't have access directly to each of the in-view tenant. We access to the data center, but we build the tenant. The tenant is like a virtual machine that we build. So the password of the admin is given to the user. So the only thing we could do is actually we back up that virtual machine. That's all we can do. Is each customer has their own tenant, which is the kind of virtual machine. The only thing we do is back up that tenant. That's all. Back up that tenant. Even extracting the data from that tenant, we don't extract as well. So what we do is that for customers who want to extract it, we will provide a role on the cloud. It's called EXH-OC. So we give that role to the customer, and the customer gonna use that role to extract the data and keep the backup on their side. So that role is not only given to the customer only when they say, I don't want to use the tenant from DS anymore. I want to back up all my data. So then we use that role. But otherwise, for everyday use, right, we back up the whole tenant and we save it somewhere. But we don't access to the data inside, so we will not know.
Yeah, Ba-Thong, I have another question. Just now actually I asked before, but slightly different. The hacker, they can actually access or they penetrate or they hacking to the data center via the internet because of our public cloud or internet, right? But how about our internal DS employee? They can access from the backdoor, right? So how can we prevent this to happen?
Okay, yeah. Actually, we don't have any backdoor to access. That's why sometimes the customers say, hey, do we know how to reset the password of members of their company, the platform manager of their tenant? I think we don't have the possibility to reset the password. It's only the customer can reset the password. We don't. So who entered the tenant? We probably know the list of the user, but what role do they have? We don't know. What data are inside, how many collaborative space they have, we don't know. We probably know is the usage, whether they go through or not, and how many times they access, because it's another, we have another tenant to monitor all the login and the access, to detect whether that is the right person to go in or not, to authorize them to go. So that one we have, that's when we control it, so we know who go to which tenant. But anything else we don't know, when we cannot go in. But we build a system and that we don't go in, and the CISO make sure that this is implemented in place, so we don't have a backdoor.
Right. So also just now you have mentioned that we can give a customer a special role to sort of back up their data, right?
Yeah.
So can the customer itself prevent their employee from downloading the data?
Yes. The platform manager can do the setting on the system itself to prevent their employee to download the data. There's many ways. The first of all is the data on the 3D space. There's an option. So you have to go to platform manager and go to content, and then there's a setting that allow you to prevent people from download anything from the 3D space. For the 3D stream, when you post media like photo, picture, video, when you post that, you also have the option to prevent people from download as well. But that option is on and off. So you decide, you yourself, customer decide whether they want to switch it on, switch it off. Normal. Now come to the 3D collaborative space. The native apps like the Power BI of Katia or the SolidWorks Connected or the SolidWorks Power BI with UES, because the software is locally, so somehow in order to run something, you need to take the data from the tenant from the 3D space and put it in your machine. So that's the only time that if customer want to steal it or when employee want to keep the data, that's the time that they can do it. But that because those applications or the legacy products that we still there because people still use it. But the other apps, those X apps, for example, that really real cloud apps, the data, there's no installation on the machine. So the data is not downloaded locally. And that's why those apps are more safe because they work directly on the cloud. Computation is from the cloud itself, and the data will stay there in the cloud. So come to the legacy apps with all the Power BI. Yes, somehow the data go locally, where it can be, can be stolen, but that's the only thing with the legacy apps.
Right. So on the cloud is still better choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wayne, any question from you, Wayne?
Ba-Thong, please see the chat box. Thank you.
I see in the chat box. Yes. Can customer invite external user like supplier while protecting confidential data and information? Yes. Okay. the platform, when you invite a member to the tenant, you can see that you have three options. One option is you invite someone to be an administrator. You invite someone to be a member, and you invite someone as an external. Okay, so that's the difference between members and external. Member is someone working in your company, so they can see whatever you allow them to see. External, when you invite someone as an external, by default, that person will not see anything. They don't see anything. And then when you remember when you create, let me share my screen a little bit, then you may be able to see it. Content. Let me share my screen. Okay, share my screen, this one. Okay, when you do community, for example, right, when I create a community, I just type it test. I will not do it to the end. Okay, test. Sorry. Create. Okay. Right. So you see the setting of the community. All right. So this community, for example, you make that community is a public community, so everyone can see it, right? So you allow a contributor to create a question. You allow contributor to create idea, but then you have that special section is for the external members. So for everyone within the company, this community is a public company. It's a public community. But for an external members, this community is considered as a secret. That means they will not see. They will not see at all. So there's a different level of permission for an external. And usually by default, they don't see anything. So then you can start to create a community only for them, for example. In that case, you will put that community to become public for every employee, but secret for the external. So that external member, they need to be invited to that community. And that's the same thing for 3D Space, for example. You have to invite that person so to see it, because anything that's supposed to be public, that external member won't see either. Okay. Now, there's another question from Ken. Knowing that there will be a local cash flow offline soon, how the city will deal with this situation? Actually, the offline is not about the cash. The offline is about the license. The offline is about the licensing. That offline means, actually it's come with, I think, FD03. That offline means the user go to the 3D experience, the platform, and use 3D experience SolidWorks. So when he starts the 3D experience SolidWorks, he select the mode offline. The mode offline means I can use SolidWorks connected without access to the cloud, or even if you don't have internet access. Okay, so from that moment, when he starts SolidWorks, he create the file and he save the file locally. And when he think that I want to go back to the cloud, when the internet's come back, and then he open the file again, and then he say, now is a time for me to save that one to 3D experience. So that's the offline mode. But otherwise, when you work with 3D experience SolidWorks or SolidWorks with UES, there's always a local cache. And that local cache, you can specify where you want that local cache. And that's the only time where actually the file is local. But that's something we cannot do much because this is the legacy products that it has to run on the desktop, and therefore I need to have cache. Okay, question from Wayne. Some customer ever ask whether we are certified or not certified, and how do we check it? Okay, now like ISO and other things. Okay, for some reason I'm lucky. I actually prepared the presentation right here already. Maximize it. So what kind of certification do we have? So we were talking in the cloud, there's a 3 level, right? The IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So infrastructure, platform, and software as a service. So for the infrastructure, the key certification that everyone will look at this is the 27001. That is the information security management system for cloud provider. That's number one, people will look at this. We are certified and audit for the 27017, which is the information security control for provision and use of the cloud. 27018 is for the controlled implementation. Then 2770001, this is also the technique that we use to protect the system. So those are the 3 main certifications that you need to know for infrastructure. For the platform, the quality 9001, and then the same thing 27001 and 27701 is there. For the SaaS, yes, there's a quality system. Quality system in terms of infrastructure, platform, and software is how do we test our system, okay? And then on top of this, always 27001. So that is the paper that I prepared for you. But recently, actually, it's not long ago, we actually have something new. It's for customer. The website is called 3ds.com/trust. So you go to that public website, you will have all the information for customer that need to know about our security and how our system is secured. Right? They want to download the certificate, they can download the certificate. Vulnerability task is all there. Get a white paper, is all there. And they go to privacy. They want to know how do we protect their personal information, their data. It's all there as well. So all it's like a knowledge base from cloud security for the customer. So you have access to this directly in here as well. Quality, download certificate is here. So question is, do we have a copy of that presentation? I have the ISO. Yes, I can make it available for all of you to download. And of course, download from the partner platform. Okay.
Ba-Thong, we talk quite a lot of security, right? So how about the data? Is there any backup data? Like, you know, like Outlook, right? They actually have do the backup for us. But
Yes.
how about, yeah. And then how often actually they backup? If there is a backup, can I have a copy of the backup?
I understand. Everyone worry about the backup. We backup minimum once a day. We could backup more if the customer, you know, have many versions of the data that's saved during the day. But for you to know, only for you, don't tell the customer. We do more than once a day. we could do 3 to 4 times a day. Okay, but for customer, they need to know, because that written in the service level agreement, we back up once a day. Once a day we do for customer, but for security, for ourselves, we do more than one. Make sure that we back up. Now, can they get a backup? No, they cannot get a backup. But if for some reason, for something that they want to go back to a version of yesterday or the day before, yes, we can help them to put that backup to become the current version. But when we call the current version, is the current version of the tenant itself. Okay, so we back up the whole tenant, and we can restore that backup whenever they need. But we only keep those backup for 7 days only 7 days. Okay, so we don't give the customer the backup. The customer has to log the service request and say, I want to restore the version of my tenant on that day, or that day, the last 7 days. Okay, so that is possible. Minimum backup once a day.
Okay.
And well, from the beginning, I told you there's another tool is when the customer say, I don't want to use 3D experience, I want you to give me the backup. In that case, yes, we will give the customer the role called EXH, and that roles allow them to extract everything, and they can keep that backup in the format of 3D XML, and they keep it for themselves. Right. Okay. So with this, I think that we reached the half an hour. So any question from yours, please, you can unmute yourself and ask me, or you can write that question in the chat box. All right, no question from all of you. Thank you very much for your time. And Uncle Ba-Thong will see you again next week. Next week, we're talking about simulation, and I'm going to invite a special person, know very well simulation, Abacus, and we'll talk about simulation next week. Otherwise, wish all of you happy Friday and the good weekend that coming. And stay safe, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.